All right, what's up, everybody? Blak&VishSports Sports, episode 28. It's finally here. 1 week, less than a week, actually. It's only 6 days till the draft, till Vish's and pretty much everyone in this stream's Niners are number 3 on the clock. But we did want to bring you our one and only mock draft. So a couple things to go over here. This is the only mock we're doing. We could do one every week. We could just keep recycling them, but that's a lot to do. So we're only doing the first round. We're only doing one of them. And then the other thing I was going to mention too is this is just what Vish and I would do. We're going to try to, have a dialogue about the picks, but this is what me and Vish would do, not what we're predicting will happen or what we even think will happen. But if we were the GMs for each one of these teams, this is what we would do. But Vish, are you ready and are you excited to discuss who's going at number 3? You haven't done it enough.
Yeah, I'm excited to do it. I'm not a big fan of mock drafts, but I feel like this time, because we became content creators, we had to spend a little bit of time to watch like 30. I want to say we have 39 people that we have as possible first rounders on a doc. So it'll be fun to see how this goes. I'm excited to see who you pick because we didn't practice this, and I have a couple of guys in mind for certain teams that I'm hoping you don't take. So
yeah, it'll be interesting because there's probably like 50 dudes that could realistically be, first rounders. Maybe not 50, but at least 40. 40,
I think we have 40 on our doc.
And that's how much there usually is because there's always the random guys that go into the first, like the Rashad Penneys, the Jordan Brooks, basically whoever the Seahawks take. No one has them going in the first round, but they're not drafting the first round. They traded that pick to the Jets, so that's cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited to do this. So I'm gonna put myself on the clock. And one more thing before we start. So for the sake of it, as Blake is a Packers fan, I'm a Niners fan. I will be making the Niners pick. Blake will be making the Packers pick. So for those of you that are Packers fans, get ready to get mad at Blake. For those of you that are Niners fans, after everything that's gone on today, you will be very happy with me because I'm not going to select anybody other than who I think the pick should be. And I think all of you are aware who I think the pick should be. So let's go.
Kyle Pitts, question mark?
So right here, I'm on the clock. I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars. This to me is a no-brainer. It's always been a no-brainer. It's Trevor Lawrence all the way. I mean, we can spend a little bit of time maybe talking about Trevor Lawrence because nobody's really talked about Trevor Lawrence. He's awesome. Ever. Yeah, he's awesome. I think the most special thing about him is how quick his feet are at 6'6". He navigates tight pockets so well for a 6'6" guy. He has probably as quick a release as you can have for a 6'6" guy. Great thrower outside the numbers, accurate. He's everything you're looking for. He had kind of a weird interview recently, but I think that authenticity sometimes gets oversold by the media and stuff like that. He's a no-brainer, and yeah, that's the pick.
Yeah, and then furthermore, I think this was the pick since maybe even before his freshman year. I mean, he was talking about being a first overall pick since senior year of high school, and then he tore up college football his freshman year, and no one's really ever doubted him since. It's kind of just he's been penciled into this draft as the number 1, and everyone thought it was the Jets all year. Then Sam Darnold took over a couple games, and the Jaguars and Minshew Mania, they won week 1 against the Colts and then dropped 15 straight. And so they got the number 1 pick. So it'll be interesting because, small market teams, I guess you don't really hear about this big of a prospect going there. I wouldn't say the Colts are really that small market compared to Jacksonville because the Colts have been, a really good team and they've had a couple of the bigger guys. But man, this is going to be interesting to see the Lawrence experience in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised the Colts aren't making this pick. They had what? They went Elway, who then didn't want to play for them. Then they got Manning. Then they got Luck. It feels like every generational or the guy that's considered to be generational prospect goes to Indianapolis. And one more thing I just wanted to ask you is I actually think Jacksonville has an opportunity to be a very good team next year.
Yes.
Now, Urban Meyer has been successful everywhere he's gone, but I think he's a little bit of an unknown in the NFL. But just judging by his college, he's obviously a really great coach. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to walk in and be a top 17, 18 quarterback in the NFL, maybe top 15, which is a really good quarterback. I think DJ Chark is the number one receiver. I keep telling people, fantasy football, go pick up DJ Chark. He's going to be special next year.
Good.
They have Cam Robinson coming back. Juwan Taylor's an okay right tackle. On defense, Miles Jack is a superstar. They have two young pass rushers with high potential in Josh Allen, Caleb Chase. CJ Henderson was a baller. So I think Jacksonville has an opportunity to be really good next year, actually. I think they can even sneak into the playoffs. What do you think?
Yeah, I like him a lot. James Robinson's a beast too. I know that's in there. Undrafted free agent. They cut Fournette, and everyone's like, oh, what are they doing? You know, they traded Calais Campbell for a 5th rounder, and everyone's like, oh, the Ravens robbed them. You know, they really have kind of been gearing towards this, just like a mini teardown, but it's been quiet. You know, you look at 2017, you're like, Telvin Smith, he, left the team. They traded Ramsey for 2 firsts. Miles Jack's really the only core guy that's there. I mean, they had Malik Jackson. He's gone. They had
Bouye.
They had Bouye. So their team kind of got tore down really fast. And, that 2017 team was awesome. And then, I think if you remember the Patriots game the next year in 2018, they beat them and everyone's like, Jacksonville's on top. And it's just been downhill ever since that primetime game.
But that was the Keelan Cole game.
Yeah, Keelan Cole. I was going to mention him. He had that insane one-handed catch, and they just killed the Patriots. But yeah, literally ever since then, it's just been straight downhill. But it looks good for them, honestly. Like, I'm kind of excited to see what they can do in a pretty weak division, I'll say.
Yeah, and they have 5 picks in the top 100 and a ton of cap space. This really, the Jacksonville, like Trevor Lawrence is going to a better situation than both Kyler Murray and Joe Burrow, the last 2 number 1 picks, went to. And so I think really if Jacksonville screws this up, man, then they're just the Jaguars because they're really in an optimum position to build a juggernaut.
And I did want to say too, so they have picked top 5 a lot in the 2010s. The only time they got a quarterback was Bortles, and he doesn't even get remotely close to the level of prospect that Trevor Lawrence is. So, it'll be interesting to see. I wasn't a big fan of the Shaq Griffin signing, to be honest with you, with how much they paid him, but he's decently talented. So, we'll see.
All right, Blake, here we go. Pick 2. You're on the clock. Who are you taking for the New York Jets?
So, Schefter already welcomed him to New York. He comes from BYU. It's a quarterback. I'm going Zach Wilson. I think he'll be an awesome fit for the Mike LaFleur scheme. Insanely quick release, cannon of an arm, a little smaller frame, which is kind of worrying. But, I mean, this dude can make all the throws, all the arm angles outside the pocket. He is a dangerous man. He's the type of guy when he gets out of the pocket, some guys look to run immediately. He's looking to make a pass like 50 yards downfield, and he'll flick it to whoever. He really popped off last year. He wasn't really on the radar after his junior year. Open competition quarterback coming into the year, won that. And then BYU, I mean, for the level of competition they faced, they're a really dominant school. So I think they maybe lost once. They were playing.
Yeah,
really
they lost
well
to Coastal Carolina in the game that was like set up like 2 days before the game was played. But yeah. I mean, I think you said it. Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. I know a lot of people are starting to get down on him. I've always been pretty consistently high. He's always been tied for my second best quarterback in the draft after Trevor Lawrence. You mentioned it, explosive arm. I think his legs are actually explosive too.
They're pretty good.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect fit for Mike LaFleur's scheme. I think Mike LaFleur will be running a variation of the Shanahan offense that's closer to what his brother's been running in Green Bay, especially what his brother ran last year. They got Corey Davis. They got Denzel Mims. Becton's awesome. I think the Jets, it's looking up. I think they still don't have a very good team, but I think in terms of Zach Wilson, I think it's a good fit and a good pick.
Now, Vish.
So now,
is it Mac Jones or Kyle Pitts time? I mean, you tell me.
This is what everybody's been waiting for. Again, if this was a prediction at this point, I'm not going to lie. It would be tough not to predict Mac Jones. But guess what? Blak&VishSports Sports isn't in the game of doing predictions. We're here to tell you who we would take. And to me, this is a no-brainer. To me, there's only 3 quarterbacks in this draft that are top 5 picks. I think Jones and Lance are definite first-round picks. I don't think they're top 5 picks. So to me, this is Justin Fields all the way. He's tied for my second-rated quarterback in this draft with Zach Wilson. I think he's a pretty decent fit actually into the Shanahan offense. It would just have to be modeled a different way. I think his running is great. He's been a star his whole life. For me, it's Justin Fields, no brainer.
Yeah, I'm with you. And a lot of the media has been saying Mac Jones this, Mac Jones that. I've really always thought like Fields was the guy they were going up for. Like he is a really, really good prospect. Now he's the third quarterback taken, so you'd be thinking like, usually the third quarterback taken, it's not a top 5 guy. You think of 2018, and who was the third taken then? Was it Josh Allen?
It was Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Josh Allen.
So he went to 7 or 8, and he was more of a project. But Fields, I think if Fields was in that draft, he would have been the first or second guy taken. And I think that's how he would be in pretty much any draft. I think he'll be insane to watch with those weapons. Kittle, Debo, Ayuk, all the running backs, whatever one they have seems to be really good. And their O-line is pretty good too. Shanahan's obviously a great play caller. So I want to see what Shanahan can do with a but someone who has the athletic profile of Fields, because he really hasn't had that since RG3. And RG3 he looked pretty good his first year. So
yeah. And Fields is probably the most, other than Matt Ryan, has he ever had a quarterback that's this accurate throwing down the field? I don't think so. So yeah, to me, it's a no-brainer. So Blake, now you're on the clock with what I think is the hardest pick in the draft because of the way we outlined our draft.
Yeah.
Atlanta obviously has a million defensive needs, but there's no trades in this draft. So what are you going to do it for? Are you going to take the quarterback behind Matt Ryan? Are you going to take the best player in this draft? What are you going to do?
Okay, so this is an interesting one. So I know a lot of people say they're going to take a quarterback and develop him for the future. I don't think they will do that. I really don't. Now, I know Matt Ryan's older, and people may point to him being the problem. Matt Ryan is not the problem in Atlanta. I don't think he ever has been the problem in Atlanta. And I did want to say, too, I think this kind of went under the radar as far as how it relates to the draft, but Matt Ryan got restructured, meaning he has more guaranteed money in the future, and that's usually a sign of saying we want him here for those years because his money's guaranteed. They wouldn't restructure him just to cut him later and have more dead cap. Like that would just be moronic. So I really don't think that's quarterback is what they're going to go here. Now they could go quarterback, and I would understand that. I think Sewell would be an option here, but Julio's getting up there in age. Ridley's pretty good, but besides those two guys, they don't really have a difference maker. And like Julio and Ridley are awesome, right? Like I'm not taking away, but I'm going Kyle Pitts here, who I think is probably I think he's probably a generational tight end or pass catcher, whichever one you want to say. His size and athleticism, like that just does not come around very often. You compare his measurables to Calvin, and if you put them player A and player B, you wouldn't be able to tell the two apart really. So that's cool, and I think he's the go-to guy for the Falcons. But Sewell wouldn't be a bad option.
Yeah. There's nothing much more to say as he's the best player in this draft. They got to take him. Atlanta has spent a lot of capital in their offensive line, especially going back in last year, taking 2 offensive linemen. So they've done that and done that. So right here to me, it's you got to take the best player available just because there's no trades, and Kyle Pitts is by far the best player in this draft.
And I will say Sewell, I would be cool if they took Sewell. This is kind of if they went Sewell or Pitts, I would understand that. But like Vish said, they have invested a lot into the O-line.
Yeah.
So maybe it's time to give their tight end position a little more love. Hayden Hurst wasn't bad, but Kyle Pitts is a little better than he is.
In an ideal world, Atlanta trades down to it trades down and recoups
8 or 9
capital and picks the best defensive player. I would say even 13, 14, because I don't think there's a real top 10 defensive player in this draft, though I think we'll end up having a couple go. But yeah, I think unfortunately there's no trades. You just got to take by far the best player, and that's Kyle Pitts too.
Definitely.
Which brings me to pick 5, and this is a no-brainer to me. I don't even think there's a lot of conversation. I know people say Jamar Chase. That's sacrilegious to me. You got to protect Joe Burrow. This is a no-brainer. Penei Sewell was excellent in his 2 years at Oregon. If he played this year, I think he would be right there with Kyle Pitts amongst the names when you say the best player in this draft. So this to me is a no-brainer. It's Penei Sewell.
I'm with you. I would be bamboozled if they took Jamar Chase. For me, it just does not make a whole lot of sense. Like, they have a bottom 3 O-line. Now, a lot of teams say, oh, our O-line's not this. It's, we're missing people. Their O-line is legitimately not good.
Right.
Besides maybe one, you could say Riley Reif is like their second best O-lineman, and that's saying something because if he's your second best O-lineman, I'm not going to, tear him down, but the other guys around him aren't the best either. And Sewell looks like he could be special. Just his athletic profile. He was a beast at Oregon. I guess you could say his technique's not the best, but that can always improve. And physically, he is something else.
Look, if they take Sewell, they have an opportunity to actually have a good offensive line because Riley Reif will go to right tackle, Sewell will play left tackle, Jonah Williams will play guard, and Billy Price was a top 22 pick in the draft. So they have talent now in their offensive line. If they don't, even with the signing of Riley Reif, the drafting of Jonah Williams, and the drafting of Billy Price, they won't have a good offensive line. This is a no-brainer to me. You got to take Penei Sewell.
I'm with you.
Blake, who are you taking at 6? This is Miami. This is an interesting spot.
This is very interesting. So I think they got to go with the receiver here. They kind of lack talent on the outside. Parker's pretty good. Gesicki's pretty good. Their O-line's decent. They have a lot of capital invested in that. Running back's not the best, but I would never take a running back this high, especially with these dudes around them. So I think they could go Chase, Waddle, or Smith. My favorite guy is Waddle, but I think for their offense, I think Smith would be awesome. And someone did mention they did pick up Will Fuller. Now he is, I believe, suspended a few games, but he would be kind of the speedster guy, which Waddle's obviously that. So Smith's he's amazing at everything, to be honest with you. So he is a speedster too, but he's more of just can do anything. And he also did play with
Tua.
He played with Tua. They balled out. So I'm going Devonta Smith there.
So, for me, Devonta Smith is the best receiver in the draft. We talked about why we think Devonta Smith is the best receiver in the draft. Blake thinks Waddle, and why Eric Crocker, the best draft analyst, in my opinion. We did a video on our channel. Go check it out. So I won't get too much into that. But the reason I think Smith, over Chase, you should go check it out. Well, it's really explained there. The reason I think Smith is also the perfect fit for Miami, and we're taking a lot of time, so we might have to speed up. So I'll be a little quicker with this. But the reason I think Smith is the perfect fit for Miami is because of instant separation. Smith separates instantly off the line of scrimmage, and that's what Tua needs. And I think that's really important for Tua. I don't think Tua's really a contested ball thrower. I don't think he's the kind of guy that has the guts or not the guts. I don't want to say guts, but throws the football when things look covered and he's got to throw a guy open. Especially last year, he was very much a see it open type thrower or anticipate windows occasionally. So to me, Devonta Smith is the best fit at number 6. I agree with you. Anything more to add?
No, and I was going to say too, so we've taken a little time. I think we're going to speed it up and try to keep it to around a minute per pick. But I think
that's my fault. That's my fault.
Nah, you're good.
All right, perfect. So we get to number 7, and I think Detroit's in an interesting spot. I would probably take Jamar Chase, and I think that's what they would end up going if they were in this spot. But to me, this is where Trey Lance makes so much sense. So I'm going to take Trey Lance, and here's why, right? Trey Lance, I think everybody kind of agrees, is this weird kind of mix between he has no experience, he's a developmental guy, but the stuff you see when he actually does it is so good. But then there's stuff that's so inconsistent where you kind of just don't know what he is. He's a giant enigma. Well, Dan Campbell just signed a 6-year contract, right? So we're assuming that he's going to at least spend 3 years there. They got Jared Goff, who's kind of the perfect bridge quarterback. They're going to have time to build weapons and build a receiving core. There's no pressure to be good next year. They have a solid offensive line. DeAndre Swift looked really good last year. This is the perfect place to me for Trey Lance to go, whether it's sit and develop or play immediately, depending on whether he beats out Goff. To me, this is the perfect spot for him.
I agree with you. Now, a lot of people say, develop your quarterbacks, especially Lance, because he's raw. It's perfect for the Lions because, they obviously they're clearly rebuilding their quarterback, as you mentioned, long contract, and Goff's only there for 2 years, but if Lance looks ready, whether that's day one or, after year one or maybe even after year two, you have the flexibility to do that. So if I'm a Lions fan, I think Lance fits really well with their timeline.
Yeah, 100%. And just one more thing to add, you mentioned, I think he's also a perfect fit for Anthony Lynn's offense. And then the Matthew Stafford trade, those picks not realistically, excuse me. I read realistically in the comments and I said realistically, but no, those picks kick in very soon. So over the next couple years. And so it's a perfect time to have your quarterback and then use those picks to invest on premium positions elsewhere.
Yep, definitely.
All right. 8, Blake, who are you taking? Carolina Panthers.
This has got to be Rashawn Slater. Taylor Moton on the right side is really good. Left side, left tackle, there's a need there. Rashawn Slater's a really good prospect. Not as good as Sewell, but I think Slater's going to be pretty good. And, he just fits really well for them, and I think it's a good value. Not much to say.
Yeah, I think you summed it up perfectly. There's not much else to say other than they have a need at left tackle. Rashawn Slater, some people don't think he can be a left tackle. I personally do, and I think he's a perfect fit for what they're looking for. At 9, so this to me is kind of the hardest pick with Denver because they don't really have a lot of needs. I don't really want to take Mac Jones. I understand how poorly Drew Lock played last year, but I still believe in Drew Lock's potential. I think he should be given one more year, and I think they should be looking to pick up Teddy B or Jimmy Garoppolo. That's what they should be looking for to solve their quarterback issues. I think they need to go linebacker here. They have a great secondary. They have a talented pass rush. They have a solid offensive line, though I think right tackle could improve, but I don't want to take Darisaw here. Maybe Vera Tucker. So I'm going to take actually who's the second linebacker on my board. I think Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, excuse me, I always mess up his name, is the best linebacker in this draft. I just think at 215 pounds, he's more of a 4.3 off-ball linebacker. I think Micah Parsons at 245 pounds, 4.3 speed. He freelances a little too much for my liking, but I think he's a hell of an athlete, and he would be a good pick for Denver right here and a good fit. And Vic Fangio could probably coach him out of freelancing.
I'm with you. Their defense is really talented. Middle linebacker is kind of their weakest position right now. But yeah, as we've mentioned before, their secondary might be the best in the league. And that's not hyperbole. That's the reality of the fact. They get Von Miller back. Their D-line's pretty solid. Linebackers really where they're missing. And if they get, 4.3, 8 speed linebacker who's a heat-seeking missile, watch out. That defense was
hell of a blitzer too.
Yes. Awesome. So I think I'm back on the clock now. Jerry Jones is tempted to go receiver here. They only have 3 quality ones. A 4th could be imminent, but I'm going to pass on Smith and Waddle. I'm going corner. Their defense, worst in the league. Maybe not the actual worst, but it's bottom 5. They have holes at pretty much every level. I'm going corner, though. I'm pairing up the former teammates Trayvon Diggs and Patrick Surtain. Surtain can do it all. Awesome corner. I think he's the highest rated on this board. Some people could debate, between him, Farley, and Horn. I'm just taking Surtain. They're going to get another Bama boy back there, and, he's going to help because their secondary is just really not all that great. So
right, and perfect fit for Dan Quinn, what they do, cover 3, Seattle scheme. He fits that perfectly. I think that's a great pick. 11 with the Giants. So I'm really tempted because Jamar Chase is just sitting here, and I think he's a perfect fit for the Giants. But they just signed Kenny Golladay. So I am not going to go Giants, and I'm going to leave Jamar Chase for you to just give him to the Eagles because that's really an ideal fit. I'm going to go edge rusher. In an ideal world, I think this pick would be Jalen Phillips, but the concussions are worrisome. I think he's the best edge in the draft. I'm going to say Kwity Paye. I think that he's what they need. He's explosive. He's well built. He's strong. I think they need an edge rusher. Again, in an ideal world, I would take Jalen Phillips. I can't take him because of the concussion, so I'm going to go Kwity Paye.
And they might honestly be in a not terrible position to trade back because I don't think, the Eagles, the Chargers, or the Vikings would take him. Probably not the Patriots either. So if they traded back a little bit, maybe picked up like a mid-round pick, that would not be bad for them, to be honest with you. But so now I'm up at 12. This is probably the easiest pick I've made besides Surtain. Jamar Chase is definitely going to be the pick here. They need a receiver desperately. They always seem to get the guy who's not – they always seem to draft the wrong receiver. 2018, they took J.J. Arcega-Whiteside instead of DK Metcalf. Last year, they took Rieger over Justin Jefferson. I mean, for all we know, whatever receiver they take is probably not going to be as good as the receiver taken before them, but we're going Jamar Chase here. I would say Waddle, but they don't need a speed guy. They took Rieger last year, and it'd be really nice getting Jalen Hurts a little help out there. The receiving room is not the best. Greg Ward is your number 2 option, is not ideal, but Jamar Chase is an athletic freak. Everyone has him as a top, 6-7 guy, but he's fallen a little bit for us. So I'm going with him at 12.
Yeah. And again, I think this is a great pick, and I think this is a really good spot for Jamar Chase. Yeah. I think both of us aren't as high on Jamar Chase as the national media consensus. Again, if you want to know why, there's a video on our channel.
Tons of videos.
There's 2 videos on our channel, actually, both with Crocker. One that explains why we all 3 don't feel. I don't think Croc even feels Jamar Chase is the best receiver. So that, and then another one explaining why I think Devonta Smith, Croc thinks Devonta Smith, and Blake thinks Waddle. Definitely go check it out. That'll definitely help you out. So I think the Chargers at 13, this fell perfectly. This is a no-brainer pick for me. Yeah. This is Christian Darrisaw. He's a mammoth human being. He's exactly what the doctor ordered. They needed a left tackle. Now they shore up that offensive line for Justin Herbert with the left tackle and Darrisaw, right tackle and Bulaga, center in Lindsley. Matt Filer will fill in at left guard, who they signed as well. This is going to be a good offensive line. They can pick up more depth in the middle rounds of this draft. This is perfect to me.
I'm with you on that. Their O-line was really bad last year. I am concerned about Brian Bulaga's health. He seems to perpetually get injured, unfortunately. I mean, I love him. Everyone knows Brian Bulaga, Iowa, one of the legends. But, they have – Lindsley's a really great pickup for them. If they get a left tackle, their O-line's going to be considerably better than last year, and it was really bad last year. So I like it.
Perfect. Pick 14, Blake. I pretty much know where you're going.
Yeah,
let's hear you say it.
So the Vikings have been pretty unfortunate for the offensive side of the football this offseason. Defensively, they've improved massively, almost more than any team, just when you look at turnover and just the talent they've got. But their O-line, they struck out on Joe Thuney, struck out on Orlando Brown. You name any O-lineman that they would have ever wanted, they are not available from free agency. So they need someone desperately. Vera Tucker can play guard or tackle. He's versatile in that sense, and they need anything. So I'm going with him. Pretty solid tackle out of USC. Fills a need that they've neglected for ever since Cousins been there. I feel even longer than that, probably like the last 5 years.
Yeah. To me, Vera Tucker kind of a no-brainer there. I think he's actually capable of being a good tackle in the NFL. I think he can be a great guard. I think he's one of the better players in this entire draft. I think if this happened to the Vikings, they should be running the card up because Vera Tucker this year, Jefferson last year, that's perfect to me.
Yes.
So we get to 15, and the thing with these quarterbacks is I think outside of the top 3, especially with the no trades, it's been kind of hard to pencil in where these guys are going to go. I don't even think I would have personally taken Trey Lance at 7 as much as the fact that I just thought the Lions were such a perfect fit because he suits their timeline so well. So at 15, right, this seems like the perfect Mac Jones spot, but I'm going to throw you a little curveball here because I know at 16 with the Arizona Cardinals, you would immediately take this player. And I don't want the Arizona Cardinals to get this player. So I'm going to take Jalen Waddle. Bill Belichick loves Alabama guys. I don't see Bill Belichick taking a quarterback in the first round of this draft anyway. The value between Waddle and Mac Jones, it doesn't compare. Waddle is a better player in this draft than Mac Jones is.
Yes.
They got 2 receivers that are possession guys in Kendrick Bourne, and Aguilar is a little more than a possession guy, but their offense needs explosion. I can't wait to see what Josh McDaniels does with them. To me, Jalen Waddle here it's too good value to pass up.
Yeah, he's my favorite receiver, my number 1 receiver. I would be I don't know if I'd be happy with him going there just because, like, I think him and Kyler would be awesome, him and Derek Carr. But, maybe Cam can turn the clock back for a little bit with some better receivers, more continuity with the O-line. But Waddle's going to be awesome wherever he goes. That's all I know. And, yeah, I mean, this offense is missing a dynamic element. They have solid guys, but, like, Rex Burkhead and Damian Harris aren't, going for 80-yard touchdowns every other play. So this will be interesting. And so I'm up next. And I think this kind of felt nice for the Cardinals. They lost Patrick Peterson. Their secondary, their corners, at least, I don't think are the best. Budda Baker's really good. So I think they need to go corner here. I'm going J.C. Horn. Just, fill Pat Pete's shoes. Give them some talent at the cornerback position, which I don't believe they have very much. Vish, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, they don't. Patrick Peterson's gone. Yeah, definitely.
So I think that worked out really well for them, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think J.C. Horn is a perfect pick for them. I mean, it's kind of unfortunate because J.C. Horn's an absolute baller. He's physical. He's really good. But I think Arizona is a good spot for him. And the one thing I'll say about J.C. Horn is he's a little bit grabby, and that's going to get called in the NFL. He's a true press corner. He's physical. I think Brandon Ayuk would have his way with J.C. Horn. I'm just going to say that right now. I think there's certain guys J.C. Horn really matches up well with. I think he's for sure a first-round pick. He's a baller corner. But I think Brandon Ayuk would absolutely dominate J.C. Horn. That's just the way I feel about it. But that leads me to pick 17, and this is a no-brainer to me. This is the best linebacker in the class. I know they signed Corey Littleton, but they need a guy who's going to run around, cover, make big-time plays in Gus Bradley's scheme. It's, again, the Seattle scheme. They need their Fred Warner, their Bobby Wagner. To me, that's Jeremiah Owusu. Blake, what's the last word?
Koramoah.
He's a perfect pick to me right there. I don't even think there's a lot to discuss. He's just a baller. He's so physical. He's so fast. He's so strong. To me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and Nick Kwiatkowski was actually kind of a beast for them. But, their defense still just can't figure it out. Like, they've invested a lot there, really. I mean, Farrell was the 4th pick. They brought in LaMarcus Joyner. They've brought in free agents last year, even linebackers. They've tried D linemen, but they've struggled. So maybe, just maybe, Owusu Koramoah will be able to fill in some of the gaps that have been left by the Gruden regime. But I'm up next with the Miami Dolphins now. This is interesting. Now, Vish might go Mac Jones here if he was in my spot. I'm not going Mac Jones.
I probably would, to be honest with you.
So it says their needs are wide receiver, O-lineman, running back. Is that cornerback?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Cornerback is definitely not a need for them.
Cornerback. I mean, they got 2 pretty good dudes right there. I know Najee Harris gets mocked here a lot. I kind of see it. I would probably go O-line here if I was them. Just go a tackle. So I see Samuel Cosme's there. I think Tevin Jenkins would be pretty nice for them. I'm a fan of Jenkins. So I'm going Tevin Jenkins. Thoughts, Vish? Am I taking him too early?
I think he's actually a good pick here. My question is, they drafted a right tackle who started, I think, 12 games for them in the second round last year, and he played okay. They have Austin Jenkins. I was wondering if this is perfect time for Landon Dickerson, or Creed Humphrey.
Yeah.
Both are super talents.
Well, here's this too. A lot of people have been saying Jenkins would maybe be a better fit for guard. He has a little shorter arms. His criticism of him is his feet are a little slower than his upper body. So working in a smaller confined space might be better for him. And he's you use the word mammoth, but that is what this dude truly is. He's like 6'6", 310. He has a baby face. He's a baby face killer, but no, he is going to be good on whatever line he goes to, and he is a mauler. So I think that really helped them because you can never have enough O-line talent.
Agreed. So we get to Washington, and if I didn't take Owusu Koromoa with the Raiders, to me, I wouldn't even take Mac Jones. I would take him. I like Jamin Davis a lot. I think it's too early for Jabril Cox and Zaven Collins, who would be the other linebackers I think are first-round guys. I got to go Mac Jones here, don't I? I like Mac Jones a lot, actually. I think I actually have him rated above Trey Lance. That's just my opinion on it in terms of the quarterbacks in the draft. But I didn't really want to take him with Washington here, but
maybe the Bears.
Yeah, I didn't want him going to the Bears either. That you can't wish that upon any quarterback's career. Mac Jones is so consistent. He's accurate. He throws with anticipation. He manages the pocket well. He processes well. He very decisive on where to go with the ball. I think Mac Jones would be a good fit, and I think they need more conservative quarterback play. I've talked about it a lot before. I think that their defense is ready to go, especially after they got William Jackson. And with Curtis Samuel, their offense can be explosive. They just don't need a quarterback that's going to turn the football over. And that's what Ryan Fitzmagic or Fitztragic sometimes can do. Yeah. So I think Mac Jones is a little safer option for them. And hopefully you can win that job and start.
Yeah.
20 the Bears.
I like him.
Oh, my bad. Your thoughts on Mac Jones?
I think Mac Jones would be a perfect fit here. They have a really good O-line too, for the most part. I don't know if it's great, but I think I know they have a few really good guys.
Right, like Brandon Scherff is a superstar.
Yes. And then they have some talent on offense, but no one talks about it just because of how bad their quarterback play's been, and you can't see him. But Curtis Samuel, Scary Terry McLaurin, my favorite guy, J.D. McKissick, Antonio Gibson, Logan Thomas, those are some decent guys right there. Now, they're not world beaters, not all of them, but you get that group and you're like, okay, these guys can do something with a quarterback that's pretty good or who we think could be pretty good. But back to the Bears. So where do I start? I mean, you go offense here. I think defense is kind of the move, and I'm thinking cornerback because right now their room's not looking too strong. I mean, they got rid of Fuller to bring in Dalton. Interesting.
Are you going to take the risk?
They have Jalen Johnson. Farley would be interesting. The injury history could be an issue. Let's go Farley. I mean, this could be a saving. This could be a saving move for the GM Ryan Pace. And they desperately need an influx of talent at the cornerback positions. And Caleb Farley could be that. He could also not play much because of his injuries, but we will see.
Were you considering going Kellen Mond?
I was not considering quarterback at all. They have a lot of money.
I'm just kidding.
They have a lot of money in quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, the injuries with him is a problem, but if he stays healthy, the Bears got to play.
Yeah.
Absolute player. 21 with the Colts. I don't actually think there's a first-round real tackle left on the board. I know some people like Cosme. He's really athletic. I don't think he's there yet. I don't like Leatherwood that much. Liam Eichenberg, to me, is a middle-round tackle. I don't think Jalen Mayfield is that good. Walker Little is too risky. Dylan Radins, I don't think is a first-round tackle. So I'm not going to go tackle, and I'm going to go to edge. I think that edge rusher is kind of the way to go. Azeez Ojulari is there. I know that you're probably going to go edge with Tennessee. So that really gives me room to pick who I want. I'm kind of between Jason Owe, Azeez Ojulari, and Joe Tryon. I think they're all really good players, and they're all slightly different, right? Jason Owe is special athlete. Azeez Ojulari is a good athlete who's great with his hands, and Joe Tryon is explosive, solid with his hands, opportunity to be a very good player. But I think the Colts, because of all the assets they have the ability to make this risk. And that's to get possibly the best edge in the draft. I'm going to go Jalen Phillips. To me, the Colts are going to have a really good defense, even if Jalen Phillips' health is a little bit of an issue. But if you have Jalen Phillips and his health isn't an issue, you just got the steal of the draft. So to me, that's where I would go. I'm going to take the risk right after you took the risk.
Yeah, so their D-line, like Buckner's obviously an all-pro. He's insane. But besides that, they don't really have a second guy who's like really dominant. You know, they've had Justin Houston there for a little bit, but he's a little out of his prime. But if they could get another really solid D lineman, I mean, Darius Leonard, we know, is a beast. Secondary is not terrible. They got some guys there. D-line is where I'm thinking if they could get another stud there, like this defense would be even another notch higher than I think they already are, and they're probably a top 8 defense at the minimum. Eberflus a really good DC. I like Phillips there. That was a really good pick. So
I'm assuming I kind of know where you're going with Tennessee. You always talk about it with Tennessee. Their lack of pass rush.
Last year, I know I'm not the biggest Jadeveon Clowney fan. I'm not a Vic Beasley fan, and those who their starting D linemen were edge rushers were last year didn't really do much. They signed Bud Dupree, so I think that's a really good get for them because they're obviously missing any semblance of a pass rush. So I'm gonna double dip here for them. Would you think Azeez Ojulari or Joseph Asai or?
I would go Ojulari here. That to me, yeah, it's Ojulari all the way.
Okay. Let's go with him then.
Yeah, I think that's actually nice because now they have Ojulari, Jeffrey Simmons, who I think is actually the best player on their defense and is a really good player. They could go corner, but I think they got to get that pass rush good. And Bud Dupree is coming off an ACL. You don't know if he's going to recover fully. Harold Landry is always teased with his talent. I think Ojulari is a really good player, and I think that he's a perfect fit there. And I'm going to continue this run on edge rushers, and I'm going to go with Jason Owe to the Jets.
Interesting.
The Jets just got Carl Lawson. I think they have a really good interior defensive line, and I think Quinnen Williams is actually so underrated. He is a baller. He is so good. He is every bit as good as they said that he was going to be when he came out of Alabama. He finally became that player last year. I think Jason Owe has got high potential when you look at his body, his explosiveness, his everybody knows his measurables. This is a special athlete. He ran 4.39, and I think they can develop him. They have the time to develop him, and he can be really special. So to me, that's a no-brainer. And that brings us to Pittsburgh, and I already know where you're going to go with Pittsburgh.
Okay, so I absolutely despise the mocking of Najee Harris to the Steelers. Now, they might do it, and you know what? Let them do it if they want. I just know their O-line has lost a lot of guys over the years. It's pretty old. They're going to get a new quarterback here in the near future. You got to start building up that O-line now. You could go tackle. You could go guard. I'm going Creed Humphrey here. So I'm going him. I know Pouncey retired, and maybe he could play center. We'll see, but I mean, either way, they need help on the O-line desperately. And you draft Najee Harris, and he's gonna run behind an O-line that no one can really run behind. So what would be the point there? If you really like him and think he's that special of a talent, and he is my favorite running back, like I do think he's good, but I just would rather go O-line, so that way when you do have a new quarterback in the future, and you could maybe run stuff besides 5-yard, in routes to Juju Smith and Deontay Johnson, because that's a hard offense to watch.
Yeah, no, I love the pick. I think they needed to replace Marquise Pouncey. It's perfect. I actually would have gone Dickerson here. Even though he's coming off the ACL, he's moving great. I think Dickerson's the better player, but Creed Humphrey is also a baller, athletic freak. I think they had to pick one of these centers or one of these offensive linemen, yes. And I think it's a great pick, which brings me to the Jacksonville Jaguars at pick number 25. And to me, I'm going to go wide receiver. I think they need somebody to pair with DJ Chark again. Pick up DJ Chark in fantasy this year. And I'm going to go with Laviska Shenault is kind of your gadget Debo Samuel kind of guy, but I don't think he's as good a receiver as Debo. To me, you need your all-around DJ Chark can stretch the field, and he's also an all-around receiver. To me, you need your big kind of guy that goes over the middle of the field that can line up in all three spots. To me, it's a no-brainer. You got to take Terrace Marshall Jr. here. He is an absolute first-round pick wide receiver, in my opinion. He would be probably like the fourth or fifth receiver on my board, and the top three are gone. So I think that this would be perfect for them.
Interesting. Yeah, I think he's kind of I do like the fit more for him. You know, whether you have Bateman higher, because Bateman looks to be a baller too, but Marshall seems like he's a better fit and just a guy that, like you mentioned, can go over the middle, kind of do anything. Bateman, to me, is more of like a deep route runner guy or more vertical threat. And, you know, after the catch, he's obviously really good too. But Marshall's, you know, in his own right, really good after the catch. 6'3", great hands.
Does it all, honestly.
Yep. I like it. So I'm on the clock now with the Browns. So they're looking like they're in a really good spot here. You know, quarterback, they just picked up the 5th-year option. Running back, they have the best running back combo in the league in quite some time, I think. Receivers, you could say that's a need. I don't think so. Odell, Higgins, Landry, tight ends, we've mentioned they have one of the best tight end rooms. 3 guys who are all pretty good, or at least have the potential to be good. So they don't need to touch offense. Defense is where I think, okay, I'm looking into this a little more. I know they signed Malik Jackson. I'm not completely sold
Sheldon
on it.
Richardson.
Yeah, Sheldon Richardson's gone. Basically, their D-line for the past 2 years has been Myles Garrett versus the world. So they need an influx of talent. I'm not sold on Clowney either. I think this is his best opportunity to show it because he has a guy who demands a double team. I'm going Christian Barmore. Insane against the run. So that'll help a lot. Garrett's good against the run. Garrett's good at everything. But he could also be a pretty good, decent pass rusher too. He's a big man, played for Bama. I like him. I like him a lot. I wish he was there at pick 29 for my Packers, but I'm unfortunately taking him a little early to the Browns so they get some more D-line help for Myles Garrett.
Absolutely. I think that's a no-brainer. That's a great pick, which brings me to Baltimore. And we've talked about so much how Baltimore needs a receiver one, and we've thrown out a lot of names. They just traded Orlando Brown, so tackle is a little bit of a need, but it looks like they're going to sign Alejandro Villanueva to play right tackle as a short-term fix next year. I don't know how much I like that, but okay, I guess they have somebody, somewhat competent. Yeah, which brings me to receiver, and I've kind of struggled with the type of receiver that Baltimore's needed for a while, and I think I've landed on the name that to me is the perfect fit, and that's Kadarius Toney, my favorite player in the draft, and I'm going to take it. I know a lot of people would think Rashad Bateman here. I don't trust Greg Roman with Rashad Bateman. I don't trust Greg Roman with any of these guys. What I think Kadarius Toney will do is he'll immediately make their run game more dynamic, and that's their bread and butter. When you have 3 dynamic ball carriers in Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, and Kadarius Toney, your offense is immediately more explosive. And 2, I think where Kadarius Toney will make a bigger impact is Hollywood Brown actually plays a lot out of the slot for them, and it's kind of where he plays. He's kind of a deep threat, but I think what they're looking for and what they need is a guy who's secure over the middle, and that's what Kadarius Toney is. He's going to win over the middle of the field. I think that's who they should take. It's a no-brainer to me. He's great with the ball in his hands. And I just like him more than Rashad Bateman, to be honest. Dimey Brown was the other name I considered, but I don't think he's the type of receiver they were looking for. I wish I didn't take Terrace Marshall to the Jaguars because I think that's who Baltimore needs. But, yeah, I would take Kadarius Toney here.
I just want to say, too, imagine a backfield where they put Kadarius Toney and Lamar Jackson. I mean,
Jeez.
those are two of the most electric and explosive guys that can just make anyone miss. And I mean, I don't know, it probably would be something that's more of a gimmick than anything, but like just a couple times a game, throw them in the backfield, get them matched up on a linebacker. That'd be cool. But yeah, as you mentioned, will Greg Roman do that is left to be seen.
I mean, he can do it in the run game, right? The run game is
Yeah, he
great
can
with
do anything
Baltimore.
for
It's
run
just
game.
the pass game. And so that's where I also think J.K. Dobbins is a home run hitter. So I really think it's kind of a three-way explosion in terms of their run game.
Dobbins is pretty solid too, definitely. But
Which
now,
brings you to the Saints.
yeah, they're interesting. They're in an interesting spot. I mean, they were 100 mil over the cap. They're going to get under it because their GM, I think it's Mickey Loomis is his name. Hopefully I'm not blanking on that. You might have to
Yes,
fact check me.
yes. It's Mickey Loomis.
The man is a cap wizard. I mean, the salary cap doesn't exist to him. He's playing with monopoly money. Say what you want. That's the truth. So they have a decent amount of needs. Their defense is a little older, but I'm thinking this is kind of a need that's under the radar. So they had Emmanuel Sanders last year. He's not there anymore. Michael Thomas' health was in question. But Slant Boy's back. He's coming back, and he's going to be a menace again. They need some help for Jameis or Taysom, whoever they roll out with. I know Sean Payton has a man crush on Taysom Hill, so he might start, but they need a receiver. They need a deep threat. I'm thinking Rashad Bateman is the guy here. Pretty explosive after the catch. I think he's the man for them. And yeah, I mean, getting him at 28 is pretty solid value in my eyes, but any thoughts, Vish?
Yeah, I personally wouldn't have taken Bateman here, but I can see the logic. I can see the reasoning. And to me, it is good value. I think actually I would have tried to get Jamin Davis and try and pair Demario Davis with another explosive linebacker. But yeah, I like it. I like it. So this brings you. You're going again. Your Green Bay Packers on the clock.
Back.
Tell me what you're going to do right here.
So knowing the Packers, we drafted our best positions last year, our top two positions last year in the first two rounds. Maybe Najee Harris, maybe Travis Etienne. I don't know. Nah, just kidding. So with the board the way it is, I would have, if I'm Packers fan, or sorry, I am a Packers fan, so I don't need to say if, but I've done a lot of vids on the Packers mocks. Talked about Newsome, talked about Asante Samuel Jr., talked about Tevin Jenkins. I like all those guys. This is tough, Vish. O-line could be maybe. What do you think, Vish? What do you think?
Who would I take here?
Yeah,
I would go Jamin Davis right here. Take the linebacker, explosive athlete.
Interesting.
Especially because I know that you're not as hot on Zaven Collins.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not the biggest Zaven Collins, at least for the Packers. Now, other teams, sure. Not for the Packers. I'm going different here. I'm going corner. We saw what happened in
Oh, man, you're going to take Greg Newsome, aren't
you? We're taking Greg Newsome, yeah.
Oh, man.
We need another corner. Kevin King's only here for a year. If he or Jair gets injured, we're down to Josh Jackson, Iowa, my guy, but still, Jan Sullivan's a slot. We could use a third corner, who I think Greg Newsome would probably develop to be our second corner, can play man or zone. I guess you could say he's a little undersized, but I'm not worried about him. He looks to be pretty solid from what I've seen, and I'm not the biggest cornerback, scout or whatever, but I think he'll be solid for the Packers if they do take him.
So I was just planning to take Greg Newsome with the Bills. To me, that was a no-brainer, but now you changed my plans. I like him for the Packers. I see your logic. To me, I was hoping you would go Jamin Davis. One, I think it would be a great fit. Two, I can't take Jamin Davis because the Bills brought Matt Milano back. So this kind of leaves me in a tough spot with the Bills because I do think their defense needs help. I think Starlo Tulale coming back will help them. Ed Oliver has been a little bit of a disappointment. I would like to go with that second cornerback here.
Yeah.
I don't know if the value is really, really there.
If there's a guy, yeah, maybe Sante Samuel. I've seen him play a little bit, but I don't know if you like
I'm
him.
gonna go with the guy who I think is just the best available player here, and just load up on their interior defensive line. Get Lotulelei, Ed Oliver, and add Levi Onwuzurike to that.
Onwuzurike?
Yeah, I pronounced his name a little bit there. I apologize, Levi, but I think that's the way to go. He's an absolute stud. I think this is the perfect value for him. He's strong against the run, good pass rusher. I think he's the second best defensive tackle after Barmore, and I think this is the spot for him to go.
Interesting. So Ravens are back up. They just traded, so we picked the perfect day to do a mock, so we don't have to, cross out the Chiefs. We got the Ravens. We already took a receiver for them. We took Terrace. Or no, we did not take Terrace Marshall. We took Kadarius Toney. What am I talking about? We took a double dip. I don't think they should double dip, and I'm not the biggest fan of their receiving core, but I think they got to go O-line here. We mentioned Alejandro Villanueva, but their interior O-line has kind of lost some guys over the years. They lost Yanada, Matt Skura. They had some issues with snapping the football that were very apparent. Is it Landon Dickerson time, Vish? I know the Ravens would be perfect. I know the Ravens love drafting Bama guys or just guys from like top tier schools, or guys that were big time in college football. It just seems like a Ravens thing to do. So we're going with Landon Dickerson.
Yeah, I think that's the pick of this entire mock draft. Mm-hmm. He is so good, and I think that's the perfect fit for them. They need a center. He seems to be running already and working out and all of that, so I guess his ACL just doesn't affect him like it affects other humans. He's an absolute stud. I love it. Which brings us to the end of this mock, right? We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the clock, and I'm on the clock, and I think this is really a hard team.
This is weird.
Yeah, because
they don't have any holes.
Yeah, the way it looks, Tampa Bay has this perfect team, right? And I've been kind of thinking about this one a little bit as you picked Landon Dickerson, because I was thinking maybe if Ryan Jensen gets hurt or something, I don't know. Yeah. But they don't really need that offensive lineman. I'm just saying that because Dickerson's the best player on the board.
Sorry. Not Harris to Tampa. I agree. They got good running back.
No, absolutely not. I am not going linebacker. There is no chance I'm going. Running back. Freudian slip. I really considered going tight end with Pat Freiermuth. I don't think it's the best fit.
They got some good tight ends there.
I'm going to select an Antonio Brown replacement, and I'm going to go Elijah Moore.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's what. Oh, let's view the full results. But yeah, I'm gonna select the Antonio Brown replacement. He's kind of like Antonio Brown, really quick feet, gets open. I think that's the perfect fit for them. That's what they need. I don't know what's going to happen with Antonio Brown. Elijah Moore's a stud, and I think that's the way to go.
Interesting. I don't know if I'd take receiver. I kind of like Tyler Johnson, and as
Scotty Miller
said, Skip Bayless is the biggest fan, or Skip Bayless is one of his favorite players. Scotty Miller. He made Kevin King look like burnt toast the last time they played the Packers. So I don't know. I don't know if I like. It's tough to say. I'd say interior D line for them could be something that they could look for.
Yeah, but I
don't know if there's a value there. Yeah,
right. So if you did what you were, this is actually your fault. So if you did what you were supposed to do and pick Jamin Davis to the Packers, I would have picked Newsome to the Bills, and then that leaves Levi Onwuzurike to go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it works perfectly. So if you have a problem with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Buffalo Bills picks, make sure you blame Blake Adams because this is his fault.
This is true. I messed.
So you want to just do a quick recap?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. I like it.
Trevor Lawrence went 1. Blake took
Zach Wilson, number 2. Welcome to
I took
New York.
Justin Fields to the 49ers.
Took the best tight end and pass catcher, possibly Kyle Pitts.
Penei Sewell to the Bengals.
Devonta Smith.
Trey Lance went to the Lions.
Slater, Micah Parsons, Surtain.
Kwity Paye, Jamar Chase, Darisaw, Vera Tucker.
This is where it's interesting. Waddle at 15 to the Patriots. I don't know if he'll I'm interested to see where the receivers go. That'll be kind of besides quarterbacks, I'm interested to see where all these receivers go, to be honest with you.
Right. The nice thing is this isn't a predictive mock draft. We were just doing what we think would be the best pick at that spot.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously Owusu Koromoa, Tevin Jenkins, Mac Jones, Caleb Farley, Jalen Phillips, Azeez Ojulari, Jason Owe, Creed Humphrey, Terrace Marshall, Christian Barmore, Kadarius Toney. Blake took Rashad Bateman to the Saints. He messed up the draft by taking Greg Newsome to the Packers, making Levi Onwuzurike go to the Bills. Landon Dickerson, best pick of the draft, in my opinion, to the Ravens. And finally, Elijah Moore closing out that first round by going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And so, if you guys want to put in the chat, like, what are your thoughts? What would you guys have done differently than us? Obviously, me and Vish picked what we think is the best, but maybe you guys have other thoughts. Did we mess up somewhere? Did Jamar Chase fall too much?
Yeah.
Would Kellen Mond have been taken by the Niners at 3? I don't know. Let us know in the comments, though.
Definitely for sure. And definitely give us your thoughts. And if you got some questions, we can take a few questions. Jamal gave this question. Chris Sims not sold on Najee Harris, likes Javion Hawkins and ETN more. Keep up the great work, my guys. So I'm with him on the ETN. I don't agree with Javion Hawkins. I think Javion Hawkins is really good. I think he's like a 3rd or 4th round running back, home run hitter, but he's not better than Najee Harris. No.
Yeah, Najee's my number 1 guy. Vish, tell me if I'm crazy here. Do you see a little Steven Jackson, maybe a little baby version of him with how
that's
physicality?
That's the comp. Yeah.
Maybe I feel like he's a little smaller, definitely, because Steven Jackson was built like a Mack truck. But Najee Harris is kind of like that. But Najee Harris, man, that dude does not like first tackle or first guy to hit him. Like he does not go down. You obviously saw his athleticism with that insane hurdle. I think it was against Notre Dame. Maybe Clemson, I forget, but I mean, he got up there, which was pretty crazy. And then there was one question here that I thought was interesting. So, no running backs taken in the first round. Vish and I wouldn't take, neither Vish or I took a running back for any of these teams. Vish, do you think a running back should go in the first?
No, I don't think. I like Travis. Maybe ETN or Najee can be first round players. I'm not even sure about that if they're first round players. But I don't see the value in taking either of them in the first round, to be honest. I don't see the need either. I don't think there's a pressing need. Like other teams have more important things to fill. Like the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's the laziest mock. It's the laziest mock, I think, out there. Oh, Pittsburgh, James Conner just left. Okay, just give them Najee Harris. No, Marquise Pouncey retired. Alejandro Villanueva left. They've got to address that offensive line, especially because Big Ben is aging. They need to give him protection. And I think he's still capable of throwing the ball down the field, actually. I just think he's unable to because they can't protect and run the ball. And offensive line will help that. So to me, I don't think there's really even a spot for a running back to go either in the first round.
I'm with you on that. Like, people want to throw a running back there, but I mean, it's not like Connor's some insane, great running back, but he's not a scrub. He's a pretty decent running back.
He's on the Cardinals, though.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, I was just bringing it up last year, and we saw how their O-line wasn't all that great, but they just lost a couple more guys. So what does that mean? Like, are you just not going to draft a guy in the first round and go running back at a, kind of a luxury pick there? So even with Connor and 2 extra O-linemen, their running game was pretty suspect, and now they're losing 2 O-linemen. So, man, I don't like it at all. And then someone else said Najee to the Ravens. I don't see it. They took J.K. Dobbins second round last year. Gus Bus Edwards he's a pretty good running back. I like him. The dude runs hard. They got rid of Booby Dixon, who was an interesting running back, but they also have Lamar, who brings a lot in the running game. But I think those three is more than enough for the Ravens.
They signed Reef to a 1-year deal, so I don't even know how much of the future he is. I think he gives them good versatility and leverage in the case that Sewell doesn't fall to them or something goes wrong. But to me, Sewell is also the best player on the board there, so it's kind of a no-brainer to me. And you have a better offensive line with Penei Sewell at left tackle, Riley Reef at right tackle, and Jonah Williams playing guard than you do with Penei Sewell, with Riley Reef at left tackle and Jonah Williams at right tackle. So to me, it's not even about Riley Reef. Like, you still got to take Penei Sewell.
Also, like, I feel like Riley Reef isn't the type of talent to be like, we're completely fine at tackle. We do not need to take a guy. Like, he's an all right starter. Like, he's not, going to be the worst guy on their line. He's going to be one of the better ones. But I don't think they signed Riley Reef with the intention of our O-line is set. We don't need to look at it in the first round. So, if you saw any Bengals games, you'd see Joe Burrow running for his life back there. He got injured because the left and right tackle, the pocket just completely collapsed on him. Man, I think they got to go Sewell bad here.
Yeah, so this guy has been pretty relentless with the Cam Newton inaccurate slander. I think Cam Newton's about as accurate as he's been in his career. If you think that's an inaccurate quarterback, that's fair. I would say that he's never been a consistently accurate one. What I will say is, who did he have to throw to last year? I keep coming back to this, right? Everybody wants to slander Cam Newton, but with Tom Brady last year, everyone said, who is he throwing it to? Well, who is Cam Newton throwing it to? Julian Edelman with 17 different injuries? Or I'm sure that he could have really completed a lot of passes to Gunnar Olszewski, or I didn't even pronounce his name right. Damiere Byrd. Who was he throwing to? I think with Jonnu Smith, with Kendrick Bourne, with Nelson Aguilar, you're going to see a better version of Cam. Right, Hunter Henry. I think if Jalen Waddle's there, you take him. And I personally think Cam Newton's going to win Comeback Player of the Year. I still think he's a legit starting quarterback. I mean, he had 12 rushing touchdowns last year. Those count too. So I think that they're really good. And I think that with Cam Newton, they can make the playoffs. Yeah,
I'm with you. And the one thing they are missing is any semblance of like just pure explosion. Now, Cam is a good runner. I mean, yeah, he definitely is, but he's not going to be a game breaker where he takes a quarterback power 80 yards to the house. That's not going to happen. I don't think they have any other guys on that offense that can do that. No one at the running back position really can. They're solid guys.
Right. Damian Harris is kind of a thumper.
He's a good.
Kendrick Bourne is a little bit in between the numbers. Nelson Aguilar kind of can, but that's not his game. They need explosion in that offense. That's what they're missing. And that's what Jalen Waddle brings.
Waddle's about as an explosive player in the league as you can get. I'd say I'd wager saying like 4.29 or low 4.3s speed.
Yeah, and Henry Ruggs ran 4.28 and he's as fast as him.
He has that second gear where like if he gets around you, like I don't care who it is, you're not catching him. Now there's other receivers that will get past you, but you'll see them get caught from behind. If Jalen Waddle is, running on a straight line with you, you are not catching him. I do not care who you are. Maybe Patrick Peterson coming out of college is like the only guy who can do that because he was insanely fast, but there's no one.
So Jamal is really upset with me for the Tony pick. Here's the thing. I didn't see a bigger bodied receiver that they should take. I don't think Rashad Bateman is worth the, 27th overall pick. I don't think that that's the value for Rashad Bateman. And when you watch Bateman this year, right, 2019 Bateman was incredible. 2020 Bateman was not that good. He struggled to separate. He, as Blake said, he's good with 50-50 balls, but he's not like just every 50-50 ball is his type guy, right? And so it kind of left me in a tough spot. I mean, Dimey Brown is, in my opinion, probably Tony or Dimey Brown is probably the best receiver available. But again, Dimey Brown isn't an overly massive guy. He's not a big body guy, which then brought me to the fact, well, if you're not going to have this Terrace Marshall type, which is exactly what they need, I think they're best off getting somebody in Tony who's going to enhance what they do best, and that's their run game. Because I think that they need explosion to their offense as well, and Tony will add that. Tony can get open in the slot. He's still tough as nails, and he's got good hands. So I think he fits from that perspective. In an ideal world, if you're a Ravens fan, Terrace Marshall's on the board, and you just take him because that's the perfect fit.
Mm-hmm. And they have 2 first, so maybe they, one of the guys in there, they'll wait till 31 to take him. But I think they have to go at least receiver with one of these 2 picks.
Yeah.
It has to be done. Like, say what you want. Hollywood Brown had 900 yards. I'm not sold on Hollywood Brown. I'm really just not. I don't think Sammy Watkins will play healthy for more than, 10 games this year. He seems to always get injured. And if he's not missing the game with an injury, he's hobbling on the field. So I'm just not the biggest Sammy Watkins guy. And then I say, okay, Mark Andrews is a good tight end. I'll give him that. But, like, who else? What else does Lamar have to work with besides that? Because you can't run it 40 times a game between him and Dobbins in a playoff scenario against another strong opponent. It just doesn't work, and I think we've seen that time and time again.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly put. And I think, again, we didn't do trades in this mock draft, but if Jamar Chase is on the board at 12, and Philly, I don't think is a team that's like one player away. Like, they could use the extra picks, and you have 2 first-round picks. Call them and go get Jamar Chase, right? Mm-hmm. Jalen Waddle is maybe Waddle isn't exactly what they need, but again, the value is too good with Waddle at 15 to say no. But yeah, if Jamar Chase is there at 12, which is how it worked for our mock draft, he is what the doctor ordered for the Baltimore Ravens. And if you don't want to go up that far, again, Terrace Marshall was there till 25. So they could go up and get Marshall. I'm sure that like Marshall's a better player than Jason Owe, who went to the Jets. I'm sure the Jets would love to trade down one more time, and you can go to 23 and get Terrace Marshall.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think bottom line, Ravens need a receiver badly.
Yeah.
They have 2 firsts. They need some O-line too. They need a lot of stuff on offense, but that's besides the point. That's a good question, though, Jamal, and I definitely am with you, but I think Vish has some good reasoning behind it. Because I would have said Bateman, but interesting.
This is funny, and there is fact to it. I just think that the Eagles do need to start accumulating picks and getting assets because I think they're in for one. You're going to see the Eagles have to do a giant just tear it all down. I think it's coming soon for that.
Interesting. I don't think they should trade down again. I mean, if they got 2 first, that'd be pretty nuts. But I think Waddle or Chase. I think Chase would be a better fit for them. I think Chase would be too good for them there. I think they would have taken him at 6 if he was there. He just seems to fit in really well. They already have their their vertical guy with Rager. But yeah, man. I mean, Eagles.
Yeah, it's a good point.
They got to do something. They got to do something.
Yeah, they got a lot of problems. Thank you, Last Second Sports. We really appreciate it. By the way, if you're wondering how our overlays got so much better so fast, it's because this guy, Last Second Sports, Mr. Jesse Naylor, did them for us. If you're looking for overlays for your channel, please talk to him. He's really a great human being, great guy, first and foremost. And 2, he does an awesome job. And 2, make sure you subscribe to his channel. He's also doing an awesome job. He's a really cool guy. He's one of the nicest people out there. Make sure you go subscribe.
Yeah, definitely. And there's some good questions coming in. I
love this question.
I love this. All right. So Jacob S. asked, how analytically driven would you say you are in the draft? Thoughts on trading down often, taking valuable positions high because of the salary structure, so cornerback, receiver, corner, receiver, quarter, offensive tackle, and not drafting running backs high. Vish, you're going first. What do you think?
I'm majorly analytically driven. For me, the draft is all about 4 positions in the first round. To me, unless there's a generational player, because if there's a generational player, you throw it away, like Quentin Nelson, Kyle Pitts, AJ Green, Julio Jones, those type of guys at receiver. To me, it's quarterback first, edge rusher second, offensive tackle third, and then cornerback fourth. Those are the 4 positions I would target in the first round. It's not always going to happen like that, but in an ideal world, those are the 4 positions I would like to draft. And so I'm definitely majorly analytically driven. I'm not into drafting running backs in the first round unless you're selecting Ezekiel Elliott, who was the no-brainer best player in that draft, or Saquon Barkley, who again was a special running back. With receivers, I'm kind of on the fence. Like, I think there is a lot of value to taking a receiver in the first round. My thing is that if you're taking a receiver in the top 10 in a typical draft, you're probably passing on a very good left tackle or a good edge rusher. And my thing is that unless that guy is AJ Green, you can get a receiver in pick 35, pick 40, usually in a draft, because there's so many good ones and there's so many athletically gifted players that could be almost as good as the guy who you picked at 10 or 11. So I am very analytically driven with the draft, and that's just how I've always been about it.
So this is a good question. So for the analytically driven part, I'd say not as much as Vish, but there is a certain sense where, like, okay, if I'm between a really good tackle and a really good running back, like, I'm taking the tackle every time. I guess from an analytical standpoint, I hate the idea of a running back going even remotely close to the top 10, like Saquon Barkley at 2. I know he was an awesome prospect, but there's just the point that, like, running backs don't really win you games. You look at the teams that don't pay running back, or sorry, you look at the Super Bowl teams that have been in the Super Bowl, they have good running backs, but they don't pay them running back the highest amount. And there's probably a reason for that, because you can get really good, cheap talent in the second or third round at running back and then not pay them. And you've looked at some of the running back contracts that have gone out to big guys. Now, not some of them have been really good. Henry and Cook, for example, have been great. McCaffrey signed a big one. He only played 3 games and was a baller, but he went out, and what did Mike Davis do when he was getting paid peanuts? He replaced a decent portion of his production. I'm not going to say he's McCaffrey, but he did a decent job. And then there's the Todd Gurleys, the David Johnsons, the Le'Veon Bells. There's a few other guys in there too, but I just hate the idea of paying and drafting running backs. That's just my thought. But Vish, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And again, just to go further a bit on this, because I think the point is that it's not to say that if you have a cornerback ranked 35 on your board and you're picking 20th and you have this guard that's ranked 13th, you take the cornerback. In that position, you obviously take the guard. But let's say cornerback's 25th and the guard is 18th. To me, it's a no-brainer. You take the cornerback. Because it's more likely you're going to find a better guard in rounds 4 and 5 and 3 than you're going to find a cornerback. Because to play cornerback in the NFL and be a good one, it takes a special athlete. And if you're that special of an athlete, you're going in the first 50 picks of a draft.
Yeah. And then back to this too, thoughts on trading down. I think this really depends on the team. Now, I think just a good rule of thumb is like having like 8 to 9 to 10 picks, and preferably not all of them, like 8 of them being like rounds 5 or later. I think that's ideal. Now, I do like the idea of, if say you're the Jaguars and you're at 33, I would be totally cool with trading down to like 38 and picking up like an extra 4th and 5th. Like, that to me is just really smart, because you're going to get a guy who's at a similar level, maybe not the guy you'd get at 33, but they'd probably be ranked similarly, and then you're getting 2 more picks. And 4th and 5th rounders don't always turn out to be, good. A lot of them bust, and a lot of them don't ever play, but there is the examples of, here's some Packers. There's Blake Martinez, who's decent. David Bakhtiari for the Niners. They took
George
Fred Warner in the 3rd round. I mean, if you were to trade those picks up and try to get a better prospect in the first, like, you're missing depth. You're missing a potential for a really good superstar or just quality player. So I really like the idea of trading down, but like, there comes a point where, like, okay, if you're a team that has pretty decent depth, like, just keep your pick in the first round and take the best guy there. Maybe even consider trading up, because there comes a point where, like, all right, you have a ton of depth, but like, you're maybe missing higher end talent. And that's where, like, staying at your pick is probably ideal.
Yeah. That's pretty much right on. I'm also with you. I'm a little bit more old school. I look at the draft and I look at it as a giant crapshoot, and I think everybody looks at it like that. The older like kind of GMs and the way the traditional NFL thinking is, it's such a crapshoot. Let me get 10 picks, so now I have 10 opportunities to pick 2 starters from a draft, and if I can pick 2 starters, it's a successful draft. I just got to go 2 for 10 on picks instead of 2 for 7 or 2 for 6 or 2 for 5. Newer GMs are like, well, it's a crapshoot, so why would I waste time with all these picks? Let me just take a chance on a couple of players, try to bundle everything for those couple of players and all of that. But I still believe in if there's an opportunity to trade back and accumulate picks, I still think you should. I think draft picks are still a valuable asset and a valuable commodity in today's NFL, and I think that accumulating them would be quite helpful.
I'm with you on that. That was a great question.
Awesome question. So here's another great question. And I don't know if you have an answer to this yet, Blake, because I'm probably putting you a little bit on the spot, but I do. The most intriguing player in this draft to me is Trey Lance all the way. Because I look at Trey Lance and there's just this wide range of possibilities of what he could be. And now I'm not as high on him just because I think there's a lot in his game that needs to be polished and improved, and I have questions about, which is why I have him as my 5th rated quarterback. But there's a really good chance 5 years from now, Trey Lance has all those things hashed out and he's the best quarterback in this draft. There's also a really good chance that with his lack of reps, his accuracy, inconsistent accuracy, and all of that he flames out. So he's kind of the most interesting mix of talent mixed with occasionally fantastic decision making, mixed with occasionally special throwing, mixed with occasionally ugly misses. I'm fascinated to see how he turns out, because this is the most interesting quarterback I've ever seen. Unfortunately, we only got to see one season of Trey Lance. I think if we got to see another season, we would feel a lot differently. But that one season is mixed with the highest of highs, the special of the special, and some pretty steep valleys and lows. So I'm really interested to see how he turns out.
Yeah, and I just want to expand on that more. So I haven't seen every single one of his games, but the ones I have seen, there's times where he'll just throw a rocket to his running back on like a little hook route or whatever. I'm like, does this man like not throw with any touch ever? And the more I watch, I'm like, this dude just throws like 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, but it gets there and it's super accurate and stuff. So like, what's there to complain about? Obviously, he has a super fast release. He has a cannon of an arm. And then you mentioned inconsistencies. I think one thing that I noticed was there'd be times, whether it's a deep route or a, route to the outside of the numbers, and it just sails over the dude's head. I'm like, no wonder he's not throwing picks. It's no one can catch it. It's like 5 yards away from everyone. Makes sense. So yeah.
And then the next ball is just this perfectly layered ball over a linebacker, fits it in a tight window. It's so perplexing.
And then there was another example. So it was like a play action, and it was a play action, like kind of a bootleg thing. And he had a tight end wide open for the touchdown, and he just didn't look. He didn't even look to throw it to him. The dude was like 5 yards past everyone. He just tucks it and runs, and he gets to the 1 yard line. I mean, it worked. The dude looks like, he's playing against like kids out there, considering how athletic and just how big he is. But, he is very just intriguing, and
it's the word.
I mean, yeah, I just can't compare. Like, I'm trying to think of a comparison for him to a type of prospect that we've seen. I know a lot of people throw out Josh Allen just because of the small school, big guy, strong arm. But from what I've read or heard and kind of seen, like, I feel like Allen was a little better of a passer and just more raw overall.
Yeah, I think the comparison is actually he's a better version of Jordan Love last year. So Jordan Love also had this just intriguing potential. I think Lance is better than Jordan Love in terms of being a better decision maker and just a more consistent thrower. But man, again, it's just weird because he could be amazing. He could be not so good. I don't know what he could be, but the talent is.
It's there.
He threw a lot less. He had a lot less throws than him. Patrick Mahomes had like Patrick Mahomes threw 288 throws, what he threw in 2018 for Texas Tech in like 4 games to bad receivers. They just made him throw every down.
He threw half the amount of throws Lance did, and he threw that in that Oklahoma, Texas Tech.
Yeah, dude. Didn't he throw 70 in that?
He threw a ridiculous amount.
What I will say is I wouldn't guarantee that him going to the 49ers automatically means he has to be a superstar. Because here's the thing. Whoever gets drafted to the 49ers, I think has a bit more pressure on them to perform right away. And Trey Lance is a guy who didn't play football last year, and maybe he's ready to go next year, and he's just going to be awesome right out of the gate. But personally, and I could be totally wrong on this, I wouldn't bet on it. And that's where I say, well, the Niners don't have time to sit and develop him and give him the Josh Allen treatment. Yeah, Kyle Shanahan just got a 6-year extension, but he's also 4 years into a head coaching job that he has only 1 winning season and he has 3 losing seasons. Yeah. So I do think that Trey Lance doesn't exactly fit their timeline. And I think that in terms of development, I don't know if the Niners will have the time to sit and develop him and make him become the best he could be. And now I know you brought up the Lions saying that. The Lions, he does fit their timeline. Now, whether Anthony Lynn, Dan Campbell, and the Detroit Lions can actually do justice by a quarterback after what they did to Matthew Stafford, that's a great question. They probably cannot. They probably will not. But in terms of just timeline, I think he's better suited for them, actually, than he is the Niners. That's just my opinion on it. If you disagree, that's okay.
I'm with you entirely. As we mentioned, that's why we took Lance where we did, just because – the Lions have nothing to play for this year. They are bottom of the barrel of the NFC of the entire league, and that's just, they've been getting rid of talent. They didn't have much to begin with. But Matthew Stafford, the man who's just been carrying the franchise for years, is gone. He's out. He's on the West Coast. Jared Goff is there. And yeah, we'll see what he can do. And I did want to bring this up. Grand Riser, I agree entirely with this point. I mean, I was just saying compared to the guys, I'm just saying athletically, he definitely looks, he's 6'4", like 240. He looks like a beast.
Yeah, it's not a knock. It's not a knock against his level of competition. It's just the fact that he stands out as so much more special than everybody else.
I think this is actually a great point and something me and you, Vish, have tried to drive home. You could say this level of competition garbage narrative for literally any of these top 5 quarterbacks, because every single one of them has had a better team compared to the overall competition.
ACC sucks.
Zach Wilson and BYU, Lawrence and Clemson. Don't need to say much about Alabama. Don't need to say much about where is it? It's North Dakota State or it is North Dakota State, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, North Dakota State,
for sure.
And wherever the other quarterback, I'm trying to think. Oh, Justin Fields, of course, Ohio State.
Yeah, obviously much better. Yeah, so, I mean, you can hate the win now narrative, and I understand where you're coming from. The thing is that rookies don't win wings. I think this is why everybody's so convinced that Kyle Shanahan is enamored with Mac Jones. I think this is exactly it, because they do look at it as a win now. They do look at it as they do need a starter. You don't give up 3 firsts and a third because you want Jimmy Garoppolo to start next year. That's not how this works. I think that I've always been of the mindset that this was plan C for the 49ers. I think they tried for Matthew Stafford. I think Matthew Stafford wanted the Rams, and the Rams wanted Matthew Stafford. That was done and dusted. And I think they were looking to push for Deshaun Watson. I believe with all my hearts that the 49ers move was to try and get Deshaun Watson, and then Deshaun Watson's unfortunate situation happened. I don't want to condemn him and say that right now that he is guilty, but it is an ugly situation, and I hope he's not guilty of those actions. That's all I will say on it. But when they got to that, I think they got to a point where they're looking for a starting QB right now. And the thing with Lance is that he might be ready to start. He might not be. I don't know if he's ready to start. I don't know if he's not ready to start, because only people who know Trey Lance would be able to answer that question with you. But there are questions with Trey Lance on just execution in general. And that's where with Mac Jones, even though I have questions about how successful he will be early, I have no questions on whether he can consume and execute the Kyle Shanahan offense immediately. I think there might be a little more turnovers just because he can't run out of plays when they're not right. But plays are not going to be not right very often for the 49ers. So I get why the Mac Jones thing has so much steam, even though I don't Love it.
That's well put. And the rookies don't win rings. I will say this, though. Rookie quarterback or quarterbacks that are paid their rookie contract scale do win rings. So win now doesn't necessarily mean it's do or die this year. It could be do or die year two, maybe year three if they can keep the band together. But I mean, they have the time frame. If whoever they draft is going to be 4 to 5 years when they are dirt cheap compared to hopefully the level of play they are producing.
Yeah. And that's right on. That's the other point, right? It doesn't have to be win now year one, 2021. Yeah. But 2022 is definitely going to be win now because they're going to start to pay other guys and they're going to start to lose other guys. And so it's going to be a little bit of a win now. And I think I really think that's why people keep saying Mac Jones. And it hurts, but I get it. And this is the other thing.
On there. Maybe
this is the other. This is the other thing. This is the other thing, right? Like RG3 went to the playoffs. Russell Wilson went deep into the playoffs. Big Ben went 15-1 and deep into the playoffs. Like rookie quarterbacks may have never won a Super Bowl in the history of the NFL, but you can go deep into the playoffs with the rookie quarterback. And I argue Big Ben wasn't very good as a rookie. Their team was just loaded.
Yeah, I mean, you can say all this has never happened, or this position getting paid this amount has never won. You can say that until it does happen because, it's not a binary, like if you have a rookie quarterback, you are unable to win. Now, it definitely makes things harder, but yeah, I mean, the Niners are set up. They have a pretty good roster compared to the other teams that are picking 1 and 2. I'd say, I mean, the rosters are infinitely better than the Jets, at least for this year. So,
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah. And Blake, do you have any more questions you want to take? Because I think we've reached about an hour, 30 minutes.
There was
Shall we call
it? There was one. It was a Packers one. It was pretty good.
If you can find it.
I'm finding it. I think this is an interesting question.
Oh,
and I was going to pull this up. There's 2 really good back-to-back. The analytics question, which was awesome. Thank you for asking that. And then this one. What do you think about Rodgers has no help argument? Now, I do not like this argument at all. Now, I'm going to compare 2 teams from last year. I'm going to compare the Chiefs and I'm going to compare the Packers supporting casts. Now, I would say a lot of people are like, Mahomes is only good because of his play caller and he has Hill and Kelsey. Now, what they won't say is that in Aaron Rodgers' situation, yes, I'd say Hill and Devonta, you can cancel them out. I'd say Kelsey's way better than any second option the Packers have. I will say that. Running backs are pretty comparable, but yeah, they definitely have a superior play caller and their number 2 options definitely better. But the guys besides that are not like, crazy better, like McCole Hardman and Sammy Watkins. I wouldn't take those dudes that much over Tunyon and Allen Lazard. Like, I don't think they're that much.
Green Bay's offensive line also.
That's what I'm getting to. Like, the Packers O-line is the top 3 in the league. Is the Chiefs even close to that? Was it last year? No. But all I was hearing this year was, or people were saying in the media, like the only reason Mahomes is good is because he has Kelsey and Hill, and they make him look a lot better than he is. Now, I will say this. If you put any top 8 quarterback, yeah, they're going to put up insane stats because Hill, Kelsey, and Reed are that's an insane duo. But saying he has no help, like Devontae Adams is pretty good. Now, Bob Tunyon, I don't know how great he would be without Rodgers. I don't know if he'd be all that good, but there's worse tight ends in the league. Aaron Jones is a really good running back. Jamal Williams was good. A.J. Dillon was solid, and they had a really good O-line. So, yes, they're definitely missing a number 2 receiver. I will not sit here and say that Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Allen Lazard are some world beaters that cannot be improved upon. I entirely agree. But saying he has no help, and then the other thing that just bothers me to no end is like the Mercedes Lewis is the only first-round talent or first-round pick that Aaron Rodgers has thrown a pass to or touchdown pass to. I'm like, all right. Who'd they take in the second round then? Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, Greg Jennings, Devontae Adams. They've had other good guys. James Jones was really good. Donald Driver, Jermichael Finley. It's not like he's been playing with, some scrubs out there. Like those are good guys that I all listed. And that's just off the top of my head. There's other ones too. So saying he has no help, I don't agree with. I'd say if you look at the defensive end, yeah, they have failed him multiple times. I'm not going to sit here and say having Lindsey Pipkins, Ladarius Gunter, and Donatello Brown out there at corner in the 2016 NFC Championship game was ideal, but I think on offense they have had talent. Now defense, sure, I will sit here and I'll say they definitely failed him many times. Special teams the same, but their offense has had talent.
I think that was a hell of an argument. I don't have much else to add to it. I think that's pretty right on. And then one thing I would add is that I think that the play calling thing is no longer a problem. LaFleur has a hell of a system, and he's a good play caller. I think part of LaFleur's people underrate him is because he had to coach Marcus Mariota in Tennessee. If he got to coach Ryan Tannehill and Ryan Tannehill was his quarterback, he would have had a top 10 offense in Tennessee. You can't have it. It's difficult to have a top 10 offense with Marcus Mariota as your quarterback. And so I 100% agree with you. And I think that's right on.
Yeah, and it's not to say that they've had the best talent. Like there's other teams that draft better. You could say, the Patriots have surrounded Brady better. And I'd say, yeah, sure. But saying they've failed to surround him with offensive talent is not the best. I mean, they've had a good O-line for
ever.
As long as I can remember since the early 2010s. So.
And then real quick, I guess we'll just answer this and then we'll call it a show. Blake, if you don't mind me going, I don't believe in it at all. I know when people say you sit your quarterback because Brady sat, Rodgers sat, Mahomes sat. Those weren't bridge quarterbacks. Those were legitimate starters that teams were comfortable with. They just drafted the quarterback because they thought the value was too great. Or in Brady's case, they had no clue he would actually become Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback ever. So that's just the way I feel about it. I mean, the Patrick Mahomes draft pick was similar to the Packers going and getting Jordan Love. Like that's the future, but they didn't pick Jordan Love because they needed a starting quarterback. Like the Niners don't fit into the category of, well, they have this starting quarterback, because I don't think they look at it that way with Garoppolo. I really think they're looking for a starting quarterback. They don't want to go one more year trying to play this game with Garoppolo's health and trying to play this game with his play, because while it's solid and he is a starting quarterback in the NFL and he's a solid player, I don't think it's to the expectations of what Kyle Shanahan wants. And that's where I don't believe in the bridge quarterback philosophy. I don't understand how one game for Tyrod Taylor really helped Justin Herbert last year. I don't understand how one half for Tom Savage helped Deshaun Watson. I don't understand how, Tyrod Taylor for Baker Mayfield. I don't understand how those 2.5 games helped him. So, yeah, I don't believe in the bridge quarterback philosophy.
I guess is the philosophy that you need a bridge quarterback before you bring in the young guy. And I think the examples you brought in were perfect, that Favre was still a pretty good quarterback, although declining. Bledsoe was pretty good for the Patriots. Didn't get to see him play, but that's kind of a fact. And then obviously Alex Smith, when they had Mahomes, Alex Smith looked pretty good. I mean, he was getting talked about as an MVP candidate for a little bit, which is kind of nuts. And it was pretty unrealistic. It was a down year for MVPs in 2017, but man, I understand the logic. I'm cool with it. I just think I'd rather have a bridge quarterback than throwing my quarterback onto a talentless roster and just having him get killed and not be good, getting put in good spots. I guess that's where I'll say with that.
Yeah, and then before we go, I just wanted to say, from what I understand, Jordan Matthews was running routes, and they brought in players to run routes at that pro day because North Dakota State, is going through their season right now. So because they can't have any receivers do the pro day because of COVID protocol. It didn't have anything to do with the talent of receivers. And I will say this, the receivers aren't great. Obviously, there are FCS receivers, but North Dakota State's receivers relative to the FCS talent are better receivers than what's there in the talent. So I think that needs to be taken into account as well. But I will leave it at that. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. This was a
Mhm.
one and only Blake and Vish mock draft. We will do one for 2022 the same exact way. Week before the draft, there will be only one. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Thank you so much for all the questions. Please like, please subscribe, please share. We really enjoyed this, and we will be back soon, actually Sunday, with the Grant Cohn. So I know
Wow,
you'll all be
special
excited
guest.
for that.
Special guest. But yeah, thanks again, guys. And we will be doing another stream. So Sunday and then post-draft reaction. So Thursday night, it'll be a later one. Vish is gonna be tired after a day of school and the draft. He's gonna be, excited after seeing Kellen Mond at number 3 be his
Or
quarterback.
Mac Jones. Well, I'm going to be more excited when the Green Bay Packers upset you once again by picking Najee Harris. So ensuring that they draft another quarterback to compete.
Packers getting Najee or ETN, hopefully, or just, maybe trade up for Mac Jones. Who knows? But we're getting a quarterback or a running back. I think that's the move. But yeah, again, thank you guys so much. We'll be back soon. And we'll see you next